There's something you've been carrying that isn't yours. A story about who you are, about what you're capable of, about what you deserve. And somewhere along the way, you started believing it was the truth. But here's what nobody tells you. The version of yourself you've been living as, the one that struggles and doubts and questions whether you're enough, that's not who you actually are. That's just the costume you've been wearing for so long that you forgot it wasn't your skin. Let me remind you of something you already know but have somehow forgotten. You didn't come here broken. You didn't arrive on this planet needing to prove your worth or earn your place. The truth, the one that exists beneath all the conditioning and all the noise, is that your enoughness was never in question. It was never something you had to achieve. It was woven into your existence the moment you took your first breath. Not because you did anything to deserve it. Not because you checked certain boxes or met certain standards, but because the universe doesn't make mistakes, and your presence here is proof of your inherent value. If this is landing for you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people find this frequency. The only thing standing between you and that truth is your willingness to remember it. To believe it not with your mind, which has been trained to doubt, but with something deeper. With the part of you that existed before the world taught you to question yourself. Bone deep, soul deep. The kind of knowing that doesn't need evidence because it is the evidence. So here's what I'm inviting you to do. Stop waiting for permission. Stop looking for external validation to confirm what's already true internally. Believe that if this vision, this dream, this calling is still alive inside you, it's because you were always meant to walk toward it. The dream didn't choose you randomly. It recognized something in you that matched its frequency. And that matching, that resonance, that's not coincidence. That's confirmation. The strength you think you're searching for, it's already coursing through your system. It's been there all along, waiting for you to stop looking outside yourself and start trusting what's within. Every single step you take toward that dream isn't just progress. It's reclamation. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to who you've always been underneath all the layers of fear and performance and people-pleasing. And yes, there's fear. Yes, there's doubt. Yes, there are voices, both internal and external, that will tell you it's impossible, that you're not ready, that you should wait a little longer. But those voices, they're not prophets. They're echoes of old programming. And you don't have to let them write your story anymore. Move through them. Not around them, not over them, but directly through them. Because on the other side of that fear is the dream that's been patiently waiting. And it's waited long enough. More importantly, you've waited long enough. This isn't about worthiness. You were always worthy. This is about willingness. Your willingness to finally claim what's been yours all along. Let's talk about what you've survived. Because the wounds you carry, the scars that mark your history, these aren't signs of weakness. They're documentation of your battles. They're physical proof that something tried to break you and failed. You're still here, still standing, still fighting. And that fact alone tells you everything you need to know about your strength. There's an ancient saying that the wound is where the light enters. But let me expand on that. Your pain isn't punishment from some cosmic force keeping score of your mistakes. It's initiation. It's the doorway into a version of yourself you could never have accessed through comfort alone. It's forced you into depths you didn't know existed within you. It's revealed capacities that were always there, but remained dormant until crisis demanded their activation. Think about it. Pain strips away everything superficial. It burns through pretense and performance until all that's left is the essential you. The core that can't be destroyed because it's already been tested by fire and emerged intact. That's what's happening in this season you're moving through. You're not being destroyed. You're being refined. You're discovering that beneath all the versions of yourself you constructed to please others or fit in or survive, there's something unshakable. This season, the one that feels like it's taking everything, is actually giving you the greatest gift. It's showing you who you really are when everything else is stripped away. The real self. The one that exists independent of external validation. The one that doesn't need approval or applause to know its worth. The one that's been buried under years of conditioning and compromise and conforming to other people's expectations. All of that is burning away. And I know it feels like loss. I know it feels like you're disappearing. But you're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself. The truest version. The one that can't be shaken because it's built on bedrock instead of quicksand. Here's what else is true. You're not the same person you were when this difficulty began. And before you interpret that as tragedy, understand that it's actually victory. You're deeper now, more aware, harder to deceive, harder to manipulate, harder to break. The comfort you experienced before this challenge, it was keeping certain truths hidden from you. It was allowing you to coast on potential without ever discovering your actual capacity. But this season, this brutal, necessary season, has forced you to learn things about yourself that ease never could have taught you. You've discovered reserves of strength you didn't know existed. You've accessed inner resources that were always available but never needed until circumstances demanded them. And here's the crucial insight. This season didn't create your strength. It revealed it. The power was always yours. You just needed conditions intense enough to show you it was there. Now let me tell you about someone who's watching you right now. Your future self. The version of you who's already on the other side of this struggle. They're looking back at this moment with such profound gratitude. Not because the pain was enjoyable, not because suffering is somehow noble, but because they know what you don't know yet. They know that you didn't quit. They know that you kept moving forward even when every cell in your body wanted to stop. They know that you chose evolution over stagnation, growth over safety, becoming over remaining. And they know something else. They know that this season ends. The weight you're carrying eventually lifts. The fire that's currently refining you eventually cools. But the person you're becoming through this process, that's permanent. The strength you're building right now becomes part of your permanent architecture. The resilience you're forging becomes foundational. The wisdom you're earning in darkness becomes the light you'll carry forever. There's a truth about hard times that most people misunderstand. They don't create heroes. They don't manufacture strength out of nothing. What they do is reveal what was always there. You were always capable of this level of endurance. You were always equipped for this intensity. You just hadn't been tested yet. You hadn't been pushed to the edge where your true nature emerges from hiding. But now you have been. Now you're discovering something profound. The edge, the place where you thought you'd fall apart. That's not where disintegration happens. That's where discovery happens. That's where you find out what you're actually made of. And what you're made of is far more substantial than you believed. You're made of more resilience than you credited yourself with. You're capable of more endurance than you imagined. You're stronger than this season, stronger than this pain, stronger than the relentless voice in your mind that keeps insisting you're inadequate. And that voice? The one that's been your constant companion, the one that sounds so authoritative, so certain of your limitations. It's lying. It's always been lying. You are enough. You have always been enough. This difficult, transformative season is simply showing you the depth and breadth of that truth. Here's what's actually happening, though it might not feel this way yet. You're not drowning. I know it feels like you're going under. I know it feels like the pressure might crush you. But what's really occurring is that you're diving. You're descending into parts of yourself you've been too afraid to face before. You're accessing strength you've always possessed, but never needed to call upon until now. And when you surface again, and you will surface, you won't be the same. You'll be sharper, more clear, unshakable in ways you've never experienced before. Not because the pain somehow improved you, as if suffering itself is virtuous, but because you made a choice. You chose to let this experience forge you instead of letting it destroy you. You chose transformation over trauma. You chose to let the fire refine rather than reduce you. That's the difference between people who break and people who break through. It's not that some people face easier challenges. It's that some people make a different choice in the middle of the chaos. And you're making that choice every single day, even if you're not consciously aware of it. You're choosing to become instead of to break. You're choosing expansion instead of contraction. You're choosing to let this season refine you instead of define you. And that choice, that daily decision to keep going, that's where your real power lives. Not in feeling strong, not in appearing like you have everything together, but in continuing when every part of you is screaming to stop. That's where transformation happens, in the continuing, in the persisting, in the refusing to let circumstances determine your trajectory. Let me tell you what you are. You are not a mess. You are a feeling human being navigating a messy world. There's a difference. This season is messy. Your life contains messiness. Your emotions are complex and sometimes chaotic. Your path forward isn't a straight line drawn with perfect precision. And all of that is okay. More than okay. It's human. It's real. It's authentic. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to perform strength for people who wouldn't understand your struggle even if you had the energy to explain it. You don't need to pretend you're fine when you're not fine. What you need to do is keep going. One breath, one step, one moment. That's the only requirement. Just the next moment. Just the next breath. Just the next small step forward. Because here's what's happening in those moments. Every single moment you survive is proof. Proof to yourself that you can. Every day you make it through is evidence accumulating in your favor. Evidence that you're stronger than you thought. Evidence that you're more resilient than you believed. And eventually, these moments compound. These days add up. These small victories accumulate into something undeniable. And one day, you'll look back and realize something extraordinary. You walked through hell, and you didn't just survive it. You came out holding fire. Not because you're special in some way that other people aren't. Not because you were chosen by some external force, but because you refused to let the fire consume you. You made the conscious decision, again and again, to let it transform you instead. Take a moment and comment below with this phrase. I choose transformation, not as a casual interaction, not as a simple comment, but as an energetic declaration, as a signal to the field that you're no longer available for destruction, that you're claiming your power to be forged instead of burned. Let that declaration ripple out into the quantum field. Let it mark this moment as the moment you remembered. Transformation, real transformation, always feels like destruction at first. Always. There's no way around this. Because to become something new, you have to release something old. And releasing feels like loss, even when what you're releasing is actually chains. Even when what you're letting go of is actually what's been holding you back. Letting go feels like loss, even when it's actually liberation. But you're on the other side of that now. Maybe not completely through. Maybe still standing in the flames. But closer to the edge than you were yesterday. Closer to emergence than you were last week. And that's progress. That's victory. That's proof that you're not stuck. You're not broken beyond repair. You're not defeated. You're in process. And process, by its very nature, is painful. But it's also powerful. Because when you emerge from this, and you will emerge, you won't just be stronger in some vague, general sense. You'll be different, better, more authentic, more yourself than you've ever been. The version of you that this season couldn't break. The version that walked through fire and came out forged. The version that your future self already knows how to embody. That person is being born right now, in this struggle, in this pain, in this season that feels like it's taking everything from you. But here's the reframe. It's not taking, it's giving. Giving you access to parts of yourself you couldn't reach any other way. Giving you the strength you'll need for what's coming next in your life. Giving you proof, undeniable proof, that you're capable of far more than you ever imagined. If this is touching something in you, if these words are resonating with a truth you've been searching for, then I invite you to subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this space where we remember who we really are, to this movement of people choosing transformation over resignation. Subscribe to stay connected to this conversation, to this community of people walking through their own fires and choosing to be forged. So keep going, not because it's easy. It's not easy. Not because you feel ready. You might never feel ready. But because you're stronger than this season thinks you are. Stronger than the pain. Stronger than the fear. Stronger than the voice that says you can't. You can. You are. You will. This season doesn't get to define you. It only gets to refine you. It only gets to reveal what was always true but hidden. And when it's over, when you're standing on the other side looking back at everything you survived, you'll understand something profound. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning. The beginning of the strongest, truest, most authentic version of yourself you'll ever know. Here's what I want you to understand about your current reality. The quantum field responds to coherence. It responds to the frequency you're broadcasting. And right now, in this moment, you have a choice about what frequency you're going to emit. You can broadcast the frequency of defeat, of victimhood, of this is too hard and I can't do it. Or you can broadcast the frequency of emergence, of transformation, of I'm being forged by this, not destroyed by it. The field doesn't judge either choice. It simply mirrors back to you whatever you're consistently vibrating. So what are you choosing? What signal are you sending? Because your reality, your actual lived experience, is going to reflect that signal back to you with precision. This is where the science meets the spiritual. This is where quantum mechanics and consciousness intersect. The observer effect isn't just a laboratory phenomenon. It's happening in your life right now. You are collapsing quantum possibilities into actual reality based on where you're placing your attention, your belief, your energetic frequency. And right now, you're at a choice point. You can observe yourself as someone being destroyed by difficulty, or you can observe yourself as someone being refined by it. Both are available in the quantum field. Both are possibilities waiting to be collapsed into reality. The one that becomes your actual experience is determined by which one you consistently observe, believe, and embody. Now, what we're exploring here today barely scratches the surface of how this frequency transmission actually works in your life. If you're feeling the resonance of these concepts, and you want to understand the complete system, the 9 master frequencies that govern conscious creation, how to move from unconscious transmission to becoming the broadcast itself, I've put together everything in Beyond the Frequencies, A Quantum Guide to Consciousness Mastery. It contains the step-by-step practices for shifting from the frequency prison into effortless magnetic creation. It's linked in the pinned comment below. Let me give you a practice. Right now, as you're receiving these words, place your hand on your heart. Feel the beating. That rhythm, that pulse, that's proof of your aliveness. That's evidence of your continuation. And with each beat, you can choose to send a new signal into your system. A signal that says, I am being refined, not destroyed. I am being forged, not broken. I am becoming, not ending. Feel that shift? That subtle but powerful change in your internal state? That's you taking back your power as the observer. That's you choosing which quantum possibility you're going to collapse into reality. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't denial of what you're experiencing. This is conscious creation. This is you remembering that you're not just a victim of circumstances. You're a conscious participant in your own becoming. The wounds you carry, they're not just evidence of damage. They're portals. Each one is a place where light entered. A place where the universe cracked you open so that more of your true essence could emerge. The pain you've experienced has initiated you into dimensions of yourself you couldn't access through ease alone. It's forced you to discover resources you didn't know existed. And now, in this moment, you get to decide what you're going to do with that initiation. Are you going to let it make you bitter, or are you going to let it make you better? Are you going to close down and protect yourself from ever feeling that much again? Or are you going to open wider, knowing that your capacity to feel pain is matched by your capacity to feel joy, meaning, and purpose? The choice is yours. It's always been yours. Even when you felt powerless, you had this one power. The power to choose your response. The power to decide what meaning you're going to make from your experience. The power to determine whether this season defines you or refines you. Drop one word in the comments below that captures the transformation you're choosing. One word that represents the energy, the intention, the frequency you're committing to embody moving forward. Let that word be your energetic signature to the quantum field. Let it be your declaration of who you're becoming. And as you type it, feel it in your body. Don't just think it. Embody it. Let it become cellular. Because here's what's true. The more of us who choose transformation, the more the collective field shifts. The more of us who refuse to be broken by difficulty, the more we create a morphic field of resilience that others can tap into. You choosing to be forged instead of destroyed doesn't just change your life. It changes the field for everyone. This is how consciousness evolution works. One person at a time, making the choice to remember who they really are. One person at a time, refusing to accept the story of limitation and lack. One person at a time, stepping into their power as conscious creators of their reality. And you're part of that movement now. By being here, by listening to these words, by choosing to see your struggle as initiation rather than punishment, you're contributing to a massive shift in human consciousness. You're part of the solution. You're part of the awakening. Subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent, to stay aligned with this frequency of transformation and empowerment, to stay elevated above the noise and the doubt and the fear that the world constantly tries to program into us. Subscribe to remind yourself again and again that you're not who the world told you to be. You're who you've always been underneath all that conditioning. The person you're becoming isn't new. It's ancient. It's who you were before the world taught you to be small, before life convinced you to play it safe, before fear became your primary operating system. This season is burning away everything that isn't really you. And yes, that burning hurts. Yes, that stripping away feels like loss. But what's emerging from the ashes is your true self. Unconditioned, uncompromised, unbreakable. Now let's go deeper into what this really means for your daily existence. Because understanding this intellectually is one thing. Living it, embodying it, making it real in your moment-to-moment experience, that's where the actual transformation happens. And that's what most people miss. They hear these truths, they feel inspired for a moment, and then they go right back to operating from the same old patterns because they never learned how to bridge the gap between knowing and being. So here's what I want you to understand about the nature of identity itself. Who you think you are is constructed. It's a story you've been telling yourself for so long that it feels like truth. But stories can be rewritten. Identities can be shed like old skin. The you that struggles with self-doubt, that's not your essential nature. That's learned behavior. The you that feels inadequate, that's not your core identity. That's absorbed programming from a world that profits from your insecurity. Your true identity, the one that exists beneath all the conditioning, is vast. It's powerful. It's connected to something much larger than your individual experience. You are not separate from the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies and grows forests without instruction manuals. You are an expression of that same intelligence. And when you remember this, when you really let it land in your body and not just your mind, everything shifts. Think about it this way. A wave doesn't exist separately from the ocean. It's a temporary formation of the ocean itself. And you're not separate from the field of consciousness that animates all of reality. You're a unique expression of it, a localized concentration of it. And just like a wave has access to all the power of the ocean, you have access to all the intelligence and strength of the consciousness field itself. This isn't metaphor. This isn't spiritual poetry meant to make you feel good. This is pointing to something real, something you can verify in your own direct experience if you're willing to look closely enough. The boundary between you and the rest of existence is far more permeable than you've been taught to believe. You are not an isolated island of consciousness. You're a node in an infinite network, and that network is always available to you, always supporting you, always containing more resources than you could access from your limited individual perspective alone. But here's what blocks access to those resources: contraction, fear-based thinking, the belief that you're alone in this, that you have to figure it all out by yourself, that you're inadequate to the challenges you're facing. Every time you contract into that small, fearful sense of self, you cut yourself off from the larger field. You forget that you're connected to something infinite. And this season you're in, the one that feels so difficult, part of what it's doing is breaking down those contracted patterns. It's forcing you to expand beyond the small self that thinks it has to do everything alone. It's pushing you to remember your connection to something larger. Because when you're in survival mode, when you're pushed to your edge, you either break or you break open. And breaking open means remembering that you're not just this small, isolated individual. You're part of something vast. Let me give you another practice to work with. Close your eyes for a moment after you finish reading this section. Take 3 deep breaths, and with each exhale, imagine releasing the boundary between you and everything around you. Not disappearing, not losing yourself, but softening the edges, allowing yourself to feel your connection to the space around you, to the air you're breathing, to the ground beneath you. Notice what happens when you stop defending the fortress of your separate self and allow yourself to be porous, open, connected. This is the practice of remembering. This is how you move from knowing these truths intellectually to embodying them. And when you embody them, when they become lived experience rather than just concepts, that's when your entire reality begins to shift. Because you're no longer operating from scarcity consciousness. You're no longer trying to extract what you need from a hostile universe. You're recognizing yourself as an integral part of a benevolent, intelligent, abundant field. I want to hear from you in the comments. What old identity are you ready to let dissolve? What version of yourself is calling to emerge from this transformation you're moving through? Now let's talk about time and how you've been misunderstanding it. You think of yourself as moving through time in a linear fashion. Past behind you, future ahead of you, present moment as this razor-thin slice between them. But that's not actually how consciousness experiences time. That's just how the thinking mind organizes experience to make sense of it. In reality, all possible versions of you exist simultaneously in the quantum field. The you who's struggling right now, the you who's already overcome this, the you who's living your dream life, they're all there, all available, all real in the field of potential. And which version you experience as your reality depends on which frequency you're tuning into. It's like a radio. All the stations are broadcasting simultaneously. But you only hear the one you're tuned to. Right now, if you're experiencing struggle, it's because you're tuned to the frequency of the struggling self. But the empowered self, the healed self, the thriving self, they're broadcasting too. They exist right now. Not in some distant future you have to work toward. Right now. Available for you to tune into right now. This is what people mean when they talk about quantum jumping or reality shifting. They're not talking about magic. They're talking about changing your frequency so that you experience a different version of reality from the field of all possible realities. And you change your frequency through your attention, your belief, your emotional state, and your consistent energetic output. So when you're in this difficult season, when you're feeling the pressure and the pain, you have 2 choices. You can stay tuned to the frequency of, "This is happening to me. I'm a victim. I can't handle this." Or you can shift to the frequency of, "This is happening for me. I'm being initiated, I'm discovering my power. Same external circumstances, completely different internal experience, completely different reality. And here's where it gets really interesting. As you shift your internal frequency, your external reality begins to shift too. Not because you're doing anything to manipulate the outside world, but because the outside world is a reflection of your internal state. The quantum field is a mirror. It shows you what you're being, not what you're wanting, not what you're saying you want while believing you can't have it, but what you're actually being at the frequency level. This is why affirmations alone don't work. Because you can say, "I am abundant," 1,000 times, but if your energetic frequency is broadcasting, "I'm lacking," that's what the field will mirror back to you. The words don't matter. The frequency matters. The state of being matters. What you're actually embodying matters. So how do you shift your frequency when you're in the middle of difficulty? How do you embody the empowered self when the struggling self feels so real? You don't deny what you're experiencing. You don't bypass the pain or pretend everything is fine when it's not. That's not shifting frequency. That's suppression. And suppression actually keeps you stuck in the very frequency you're trying to leave. Instead, you acknowledge what's happening. You feel what you're feeling. You let yourself be human. But then you make a choice about what meaning you're going to assign to it. You decide whether this experience is proof of your inadequacy or proof of your strength being revealed. You choose whether this is destruction or transformation. You get to decide. That's your power as a conscious being. Not the power to control what happens, but the power to choose what it means and who you're going to be in relationship to it. And every time you make that choice, every time you choose the empowering interpretation over the disempowering one, you shift your frequency just a little bit. And those little shifts compound. Those small choices accumulate. And eventually, you find yourself experiencing a completely different reality. Not because your circumstances magically changed, but because you changed the lens through which you're perceiving them. Let me tell you something else that nobody talks about. The universe is always communicating with you. Always. Through synchronicities, through patterns, through the same lessons showing up again and again until you finally learn them. And this season you're in, this difficult, transformative season, it's not random, it's not punishment, it's communication. The universe is speaking to you through these challenges. It's saying, you're ready for the next level. But to access it, you have to let go of who you've been. You have to release the old patterns that kept you safe but small. You have to expand beyond the limited version of yourself. And I know that feels harsh. I know it would be easier if growth came through gentle whispers and comfortable nudges. But sometimes, often actually, real transformation requires disruption. It requires things to fall apart so that something new can be built. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly through incremental change. It literally dissolves into liquid inside the cocoon. Its old structure completely breaks down before the new form can emerge. That's what's happening to you right now. Your old structure is dissolving. The identity you've been wearing, the patterns you've been running, the beliefs you've been operating from, they're breaking down. And yes, it feels like dissolution. Yes, it feels like you're coming apart, but you're not ending. You're reorganizing at a higher level of complexity. You're preparing to emerge as something new. And when you do emerge, when this transformation completes, You won't even recognize the person you were before. Not because you'll judge them or reject them, but because you'll have expanded so far beyond that limited version that it will seem like a different lifetime. The things that worried you before will seem trivial. The fears that controlled you will have lost their power. The beliefs that limited you will have been replaced by a direct knowing of what's actually true. But you're not there yet. You're in the middle, in the cocoon, in the dissolution phase, and that's okay. That's exactly where you need to be, because there's no skipping this part. There's no shortcut through the transformation. You have to go through the full process. You have to allow the complete breakdown of what was, so that what wants to emerge can have space to form. This is where trust comes in. Not blind faith, not naive optimism, but deep, embodied trust in the intelligence of the process itself. Trust that if you're going through this, it's because you're ready for it. Trust that you wouldn't have been given this challenge if you didn't have the capacity to handle it. Trust that the universe is not random, that there's meaning and purpose woven through even the most difficult experiences. And here's how you cultivate that trust. You look back at every other difficult season you've survived. Every other time you thought you couldn't make it, but somehow you did. Every other moment when you were certain you'd reached your limit, but then discovered you had more. That's not coincidence. That's not luck. That's evidence. Evidence of your resilience. Evidence of your capacity. Evidence that you're stronger than you know. Use that evidence. Build your trust on it. Let it remind you that if you've made it through everything else, you'll make it through this too. Not because this is easy, not because you have it all figured out, but because you have a track record, a proven history of survival, of adaptation, of finding a way forward even when you couldn't see the path. Consider revisiting this message every morning for the next week. Let it recalibrate your frequency before the world tries to pull you back into old patterns. And if someone in your life is going through their own transformation, share this with them. When you transmit these truths to others, you're not just helping them remember, you're reinforcing your own remembering. You're creating an energetic ripple that amplifies the field of consciousness for everyone. The act of sharing becomes its own form of embodiment, and this time will be added to that history. This season will become another piece of evidence that you can trust yourself, that you can trust the process, that you can trust that even when everything feels like it's falling apart, something new is actually being born. Something stronger, something truer, something more aligned with who you really are beneath all the conditioning and fear. So keep going, not because the path is clear, it's not. Not because you have all the answers, you don't. But because every step you take in the direction of your becoming is a step away from the false self that never served you anyway. Every moment you choose to continue is a moment you're proving to yourself that you're stronger than you knew. This wasn't the end. This was never the end. This was the beginning. The beginning of the strongest, truest, most powerful version of yourself. The version that knows, beyond any doubt, that you were never lost. You were just remembering. And now you remember. You are enough. You have always been enough. And this season is simply revealing the magnitude of that truth. Welcome home to yourself. The real you has been waiting. The real you is already here. The real you never left. It was just obscured by all the layers of protection and pretense and performance. But those layers are burning away now. The fire is doing its work. And what's emerging from the flames is the you that can't be destroyed. The you that was forged in the same fire that birthed stars. The you that is and has always been a perfect expression of the intelligence that creates worlds. Remember that. Embody that. Let it become the truth you live from instead of the truth you occasionally think about. Because when you live from that truth, when you operate from that level of knowing, everything changes. Not because the external world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become unshakable. You become rooted in something so deep that the surface storms can't touch it. You become anchored in a truth that no temporary circumstance can shake. And from that place of unshakable knowing, you create differently. You respond differently. You show up differently. And the field responds to that difference. It mirrors back to you the frequency you're broadcasting. And slowly, steadily, your entire reality transforms to match the internal transformation that's already occurred. This is the path. This is the way. Not around the difficulty, but through it. Not avoiding the fire, but allowing it to forge you. Not resisting the transformation, but surrendering to it while staying conscious. While choosing at every moment who you're going to be in relationship to what's happening. You've got this. Not because I'm telling you so, but because you've always had this. The strength was always yours. The power was always present. The capacity was never in question. You just forgot for a while. And this season, this brutal, beautiful, necessary season, it's just reminding you. It's bringing you back home to the truth of who you actually are. And once you remember, once you really remember, nothing will ever be the same again. Because you can't unknow what you've learned. You can't return to the limited version once you've tasted the infinite one. You can only move forward, expanded, transformed, reborn. And speaking of remembering who you are, there's something else you need to understand about the precise moment you're in right now. The timing of you being here, receiving this transmission, it's not accidental. There's a quantum principle at work that most people never recognize. I break down exactly why you're seeing this now and what it means for what's about to unfold in your reality in the video you need to watch next. You were never late. You arrived exactly on time. It reveals the intelligence behind your timing and how to work with it instead of against it.